Magandang araw! Ako ang inyong kaibigan na si Charlene Ramos. This chapter is all about the values, ethics, and character. The chapter's outline is all about the introduction, leadership and doing the right things, characters-based approaches to leadership, and the role of ethics and values in organizational leadership. So, the values, ethics, and leadership. Leadership cannot just go along to get along. Leadership must meet the moral challenge of the day. This is by Jesse Jackson, an American civil rights activist. For introduction, number 1, leaders can use power for good or ill. Leaders can use power positively to inspire and achieve goals, but it can also be misused for unethical purposes. The impact of power depends on how it is wielded. Number 2 is, a leader's values and ethical code determine how they use power. A leader's ethics and values guide how they exercise power. Leaders with strong ethical principles use power responsibly, while those without may misuse it. Another is, recent scandals highlight the importance of ethics in leadership. Scandals in politics, business, and religion show the damage caused by unethical leadership, reinforcing the need for ethical behavior to maintain trust and integrity. So, another is, there's growing attention to ethical leadership. Both scholars and public are increasingly focusing on the importance of ethics in leadership, recognizing that moral decision-making is very essential for the effective of their leadership. Let's proceed on leadership and doing the right things. Number 1 is, leaders face dilemmas that requires choices between competing sets of values and priorities. Here, leaders frequently encounter situations where they must choose between conflicting values such as short-term gains versus a long-term sustainability. These decisions often have significant consequences, requiring careful judgment, and balancing these priorities is a core responsibility of leadership. Next is, the best leaders recognize dilemmas and face them with a commitment to doing what is right, not just what is reasonable. So here, what does it mean? Great leaders go beyond what is merely practical or easy and commit to making ethical sound decisions. They prioritize doing the right thing even more it is difficult or unpopular. Here, this moral commitment strengthens trust and sets a high ethical standard for their team. Next is, leaders set a moral example that becomes the model for an entire group or an entire organization. So here, a leader's behavior influences the ethical tone of the entire organization. When leaders act with integrity, their actions set an example that others are likely to follow. This role modeling creates a culture where ethical behavior becomes the norm. So here, next is, leaders should internalize a strong set of ethics, which are principles of right conduct or a systems of moral values. So what does it mean? Here naman, leaders need a clear moral compass to guide their actions and decisions. Internalizing a strong set of ethical principles ensures consistency in their leadership, and this helps them navigate complex situations and maintain integrity. So the last is, Gardner Burns stress the centrality and importance of moral dimension of leadership. So John Gardner and James Burns emphasized that effective leadership is deeply rooted in moral responsibility. They argued that leaders must focus on ethical conduct as a fundamental aspect of leadership, and their work highlights the importance of moral integrity in leadership. So now, let's proceed on the qualities of leadership that engender trust: vision, empathy, consistency, and integrity. First is the vision, a clear and inspiring direction for the future that motivates others. Next, empathy, genuine care for the feelings and well-being of team members, creating a supportive environment. Next, consistency, reliable and predictable action that provide is stability and confidence. And lastly, integrity, adherence to strong moral principles, fostering trust through honesty and ethical behavior. So these qualities together form the foundation for trusted and effective leadership. Now let's proceed on. McGregor's style of managerial behavior is based on people's implicit attitudes about human nature. Douglas McGregor believed that a manager approach to leadership is shaped by their underlying assumption about people's motivation and behavior at work. This assumption influences how they manage and interact with employees. So in Theory X asserts that most people need extrinsic motivation because they are not naturally motivated to work. In Theory X, managers assumes that employees are inherently lazy and need external incentives such as reward or punishments to be productive. This approach relies on strict supervision and control to motivate workers. So in Theory Y asserts that most people are intrinsically motivated by their work. So kanina, it's extrinsic. So here, intrinsically. Theory Y. Theory Y assumes that employees naturally enjoy work and are motivated by internal satisfaction, such as personal growth or a sense of achievement. So here, managers who follow this approach encourage autonomy and creativity, believing people will thrive with more responsibility.
So now we're going to discuss the concept of values and how they influence individual behavior and the generational differences that can shape value systems in the workplace. We'll start by exploring the nature of values, then move on to their impact across different generations. Values are constructs representing generalized behaviors or states of affairs that individuals find important. These values influences our psychological makeup and guide our actions in different situations. People differ in how they prioritize values, but we can broadly classify them into two types: instrumental and terminal values. Instrumental values refers to the modes of behavior such as being helpful, responsible, or honest, while terminal values represent desired end states such as family security, personal success, or social recognitions. Together, this value plays a central role in how individuals approach their lives, work, and relationships. Now let's explore how broader societal forces shape common value systems, especially across different generations. Historical events and cultural shifts at specific time create shared experiences that mold values. For instance, older leaders may have different value systems than younger followers, which can sometimes cause misunderstanding or tension. We can see this by examining four generational groups: the veterans, the baby boomers, Gen Xers, and millennials. The veterans, 1922 to 1943, these are shaped by events like World War II, while the baby boomers, 1942 to 1960, are influenced by post-war growth and social change. While the Gen Xers, the 1961 to 1981, who witnessed rapid technological and social shifts, while millennials, 1982 to 2005, shaped by the rise of digital technology and economic challenges. Each generation was molded by different experiences, which impact how they view work, leadership, and success. Finally, let's focus on Gen Xers and how they approach authority and leadership compared to other generations. Unlike their predecessors, Gen Xers define leadership as removing obstacles and giving employees the tools they need to succeed. They expect managers to earn their leadership roles based on merit, not seniority, which marks a shift from earlier generations. Despite these differences, research shows that there is no significant generation gap in core values, while studies indicate that Gen Xers and millennials in the workforce share similar values on leadership and organizational values, suggesting more common ground than we might expect.
Moral reasoning and character-based leadership. In this topic, values play a key role in the moral reasoning process. When there are value differences among individuals, it often results in different judgments regarding ethical and unethical behavior. Not everyone fully develops their moral judgment because of differences among people. Conscious biases may affect one's moral judgments. That is why organizations are creating programs to improve leaders' moral decision-making skills. The success of these programs relies on understanding the dual process theory of moral judgment. Automatic emotional responses guide judgment about rights and duties, while cognitive processes handle utilitarian decisions. Common ethical dilemmas involve choosing between two rights. Kidder identified the following common ethical dilemmas. Truth versus loyalty. Honestly answering a question that might breach confidentiality. Individual versus community. Protecting a person's medical confidentiality even if it threatens the community. Short term versus long term. Balancing family time with career investments for future benefits. Justice versus mercy. Deciding whether to excuse misbehavior due to extenuating circumstances or belief that the person has learned a lesson.
Character-based approaches to leadership. First, what is authentic leadership? Authentic leaders exhibit consistency among their values, their beliefs, and actions. Second, they are self-aware. Third, self-consciously align their actions with their inner values, meaning they use their inner compasses to guide their daily actions, which enables them to earn the trust of their employees, peers, and shareholders or other people. And it creates a approachable work environment. Study of authentic leadership has gained momentum because of these following beliefs. First, enhancing self-awareness that can help people in organizations find more meaning at work. Meaning, the ability to understand your own thoughts and emotions, and behaviors. Second, promoting transparency and openness in relationship builds trust and commitment. Meaning, it is the ability to be honest and candid, and especially when you're wrong and you make a mistake. Third, fostering more inclusive structures and practices can help build more positive ethical climates. Lastly, servant leadership. It views serving others as being the leader's role. And their characteristics of servant leaders are listening. It means it involves going beyond simply hearing the words that another person speaks. Next is empathy. Empathy, it is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. Next is healing. Healing and awareness. It is the quality or state of being aware of something happening or existing. Next is persuasion. Another one is conceptualization. It is the action or process of forming a concept or ideas of something. Next is foresight. It refers to the act or power of foreseeing, provident care, or a view forward. Next is stewardship. Stewardship is a ability to judge correctly what is going to happen in the future and plan your action based on this knowledge. Next is commitment to others' growth. And lastly is the building community.
To explain the rules of ethics, ako si Lance J. de la Cruz, ang inyong kaibigan. The values of the organization must be reflected in the dominant values shown by the members who are the backbone of the organization. The organizational design will determine whether there are regulations and whether members will stay in the organization if their values are aligned. If the organization's values and those of their colleagues are not aligned, it can lead to conflict and arguments which can significantly impact their work. In an organization, opposing values may be experienced, leading to conflicts. The leaders must learn how to listen to all these and come up with a decision that meets the needs of most of the members and is also aligned with the organizational design. It is crucial that they also embody the values of the company. Through this, they set the foundation for a robust and values-driven culture, a responsibility that not only builds trust but also drives success. Leaders play a pivotal role in shaping the organization's culture. Their actions, more than their words, set the tone for the entire team. By demonstrating the behaviors they expect from their employees, they avoid the trap of do as I say, not as I do, and ensure the instructions are more effectively understood. Role models may be categorized through these crucial attitudes and behaviors. First is interpersonal behaviors. Leaders must show care, concern, and compassion through listening, supporting, empathizing, or putting themselves in the shoes of others. This inclusivity is key to making everyone in the organization feel valued and appreciated. The second is basic fairness. This includes treating everyone in the organization with equity and impartiality, meaning their individual needs will be considered, decisions are to be made objectively without favor of another and with fair opportunity. Third is ethical actions and self expectations. In both the leaders' public and private lives, they ensure their values are visible, consistent, and firm. Lastly, leaders are not just enforcers of rules, but articulators of ethical standards. They must clearly communicate their vision for the company and the values they expect their employees to uphold. By doing so, they set a clear path for the organization and stand firm in their decisions. One essential aspect of leadership is upward ethical leadership, which consists of maintaining and upholding ethical standards despite being faced with questionable moral behavior such as dishonesty, favoritism, or exploitation for higher ups or your so called bosses. These people are courageous enough not to conform with whatever is given, but to correct these wrong behaviors, even of those above your given position, for the betterment of the organization. Fear of retribution may be a constraint in this matter. However, the general quality of an organization's ethical climate is determined by whether or not the employees are able or comfortable enough to raise their concerns. In an ethical climate, the importance of addressing concerns is paramount. Employees feel comfortable enough to communicate their issues, knowing that their leaders will take action. This reassures them and instills confidence, creating an environment of integrity where everyone feels heard and understood. On the other hand, in unethical climates, their concerns are often ignored and condoned. Corrections are not entertained, leading to misconduct by the people in the organization. These problems can be effectively addressed by fostering a sense of shared leadership. This approach, which values the input of all team members, is more effective than a strict hierarchy. By listening and addressing the concerns of others, and by valuing upward leadership, everyone in the organization can feel empowered and involved in the decision making process.
Ako ang kaibigan mong si Vivian. Moving forward to creating and sustaining an ethical climate. Fronts, or as defined as the actions we present or that is normally seen or used first, of leadership action that are required to create an ethical climate. First off, we have formal ethics policies and procedures. To sustain an ethical climate, we must be able to practice ethical guidelines for us and our followers to adhere. Next is core ideology. In leading, we must create and practice an ideal we follow through. It signifies dedication for our goals and can act as an inspiring driving force for our followers. Next is integrity. We must observe truthfulness in our actions. Practicing integrity is a sign that you are an honest and trustworthy leader. Structural reinforcement. This means that as leaders, we ought to have our members or followers actively participating. We achieve this when providing or giving our members praise, a period of rest, rewards, and others. Last but not the least, process focus. This means we must focus on what is now or in the present rather than thinking about the past or future events. Next, we have creating. Next, in the principle-centered leadership, asserts the fundamental interdependence between the personal, interpersonal, managerial, and organizational levels of leadership. Interdependence between the levels posited in principle-centered leadership is quite similar to the conceptualizations of authentic leadership, which also views it as a multi-level phenomenon. This simply means that as leaders, we follow a set of core principles that will guide us on how to properly lead. No externalities will be able to affect a leader's choice of action or decision. In conclusion, we have learned that there is a relationship between ethics, values, and leadership. It is not just the content of what one believes is right and wrong, but how one makes moral or ethical judgments. Ethical dilemmas often involve a choice between two rights rather than choices between what is right or wrong. Recent research has explored the interdependencies between the effective leadership and particular value systems. Last but not the least, there is an increased interest in recent years in the kinds of practices that can be instituted within organizations to enhance the likelihood that they will have ethical climates.